It is Friday, Juneteenth. I'm Sam Seder.
And I'm Lucie Steiner. Which one of these stories will you be talking about today?
California becomes the sixth state to require masks out of doors. But a lot of other states have leaders who are happy to pretend the pandemic is over and done. Meanwhile, Facebook penalizes Donald Trump's re-election campaign for promoting organized hate. This may or may not surprise you, but Trump's advertisements featured genuine Nazi iconography from the 1930s. And lastly, good news for millions of American families. The Supreme Court intervened to stop Trump from deporting DACA recipients.
You're listening to Majority.fm's AM Quickie, and these are the stories you need to know.
As the global death toll from COVID-19 nears 500,000 people, the overall government response in the U.S. remains chaotic. California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom announced a new statewide order requiring masks outside the home. Masks will now be required in public indoor settings and outdoors when it's not possible to stand 6 feet apart. California joins Michigan, New York, Maine, Delaware, and Maryland in requiring masks during the pandemic. Newsom's orders includes several exceptions, including walking, hiking, running, and bicycling, but social distancing is expected for those exercising outside. The announcement did not mention any penalties for people who break the rules. The mayor of Costa Mesa in Orange County told the Associated Press, quote, "Nobody wants to have to arrest people for not wearing a facial covering. We just want people to care about others so people don't die." End quote. It's a different story over in Nebraska. Republican Governor Pete Ricketts has threatened to deny federal aid money to local governments that require people to wear masks in public. And in China, where COVID-19 was first detected, lockdown measures are being reinstituted in light of a new wave of cases in Beijing. The pandemic isn't over, folks. Don't kid yourselves. Even the communications director for Donald Trump's re-election campaign is advising supporters in high-risk categories to watch tomorrow's presidential hate rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma on television rather than expose themselves and their families. If Trump's public health messaging seems confused at best, his campaign's neo-Nazi propaganda is crystal clear. Yesterday, Facebook removed Trump ads disparaging anti-fascists that featured unmistakable Nazi symbolism. The campaign placed 88 different ads in all 50 states featuring a large inverted red triangle. The accompanying text spoke of, quote, dangerous mobs of far-left groups running through our streets and causing absolute mayhem, end quote. Back in the 1930s and 40s, the German Nazi Party used the red triangle to identify suspected communists, social democrats, liberals, Freemasons, and other opposition members in their concentration camps. As for the 88 placements, that number is widely used by neo-Nazis as a kind of code for praising Adolf Hitler. Paid posts on Facebook featuring this iconography were reportedly sponsored by accounts belonging to Trump and Vice President Mike Pence, as well as official Team Trump campaign page. It's not the first time the Trump campaign or his administration has used Nazi symbolism, but it is one of the more egregious uses. The ads were viewed nearly 1 million times before Facebook removed them yesterday after getting questions from the Washington Post. The company says the ads violated its policy against organized hate.
Majority.fm's AM Quickie is fueled by JustCoffee.coop. Just Coffee is a worker-owned coffee roaster based in Madison, Wisconsin that has sponsored the Majority Report for nearly a decade. Check out their collection of fair trade roasts, including our own Majority Report blend. And regardless of what you order, receive 10% off your order when you use the code MAJORITY at checkout. And all shipping is free. That's coupon code MAJORITY at JustCoffee.coop.
And some good news. The Supreme Court intervened yesterday to stop Trump from canceling the DACA program that protects child migrants from deportation. In a 5-4 decision, the court ruled that Trump lacks sufficient justification to end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program instituted by President Barack Obama in 2012. DACA confers a temporary protected status to non-citizens who came to the U.S. as children and are American in every sense that counts except for some paperwork. Because of the ruling, some 800,000 people may be spared deportation. More than 1 million families will be spared the pain of separation. One of the beneficiaries of the program, a dreamer named Marisol Montellano, told the New York Times, quote, "I feel like I can breathe. I feel like I can tell my kids it's going to be okay," end quote. As the Times reported, the decision not only paves the way for immigrants to continue renewing their protected status, it also opens the program to some 66,000 undocumented young people who had been excluded from the program since the Trump administration began winding it down. Chief Justice John Roberts voted with the so-called liberal wing of the court to secure the decision. Trump seemed caught off guard, accusing the court of firing, quote, shotgun blasts into the face of people who are proud to call themselves Republicans or conservatives, end quote. Not quite, but we're only halfway through the year 2020.
And now for some quicker quickies.
Quicker Quickie.
Washington State activated the National Guard to help process unemployment claims there. Not coincidentally, the Federal Department of Labor released new figures yesterday showing another 1.5 million Americans filed for jobless benefits last week. Stephen Ray Baca, the New Mexico man who fired into a crowd of protesters earlier this week, managed to avoid charges in the shooting. Albuquerque press say the state police have taken over the investigation, which the district attorney called fundamentally incomplete. Baca's lawyers are claiming self-defense. Democratic leaders announced that the U.S. House of Representatives will hold a vote on statehood for the District of Columbia on next Friday, June 26th. House rules prevent D.C. Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton from participating in the vote. She first brought a statehood bill to Congress in 1993. Dutch police are chasing a new lead in the case of a stolen Vincent van Gogh painting from a museum in the Netherlands this past March. Famous art detective Arthur Brand tipped police after he found a photo of the painting being shared in, quote, mafia circles. The oil-on-paper work by Van Gogh depicts a garden and is valued at $6.3 million. But what about the movie rights?
Quicker Quickie.
That's all for the AM Quickie. Join us this afternoon live on the Majority Report at noon. We'll be celebrating Juneteenth, talking to Professor Gerald Horne about that holiday. We'll also be talking to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez about Tuesday's New York primary, where she is running against a corporate Democrat. Tune in.